The state of mind that I'm trying to be when I paint is to be as loose, as free as possible, and to have no kind of limitation with this specific kind of act that is, this act of kind of creating an image. What you really want as a painter, or probably as an artist, is to create a painting that is much more complex and interesting than yourself. When I paint in the studio, I usually try to be really in my kind of mindset and being fully like connected to the practice and the process of painting. So music and books, actually, like I listen mostly books when I paint, because they somehow use a very different space in my brain. So it's like drivers do that too, like. I mean, the state of mind, I think it's to try to be as free as possible. Free is a big word, but like trying to not think about what you're doing as much as possible. So that's why I probably like books or music. So you're trying to be not self-conscious, not like having like, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do anyway. Like the best is really to follow some sort of intuitions and feelings and get like as much as connected with, like the act of painting, which probably is just being lost in a much bigger layers of energies and like ideas than just like, oh, I'm gonna paint a tree. And so like you're trying to escape that as much as possible. So it's true, the music and books, for me, it works very well. I mean, what you want with your hands is you don't want to think about techniques. You don't want to be like reduced with, oh, I don't know how to do that effect, or I don't know how to do an eye, and then I just like have to, then you get like tense, and I think that's where like it's very hard to paint. I think you want to accept your skills, whatever they are. They can be, in terms of academic, like knowledge, they can be high or low. It doesn't really matter. There's great painters with little skills, and they can produce the best paintings in it. And the other way, there's also painters with great, academic skills that can't really produce great paintings. So it's the act of creating a painting that is interesting, that resonates with the world in a dynamic way. I think it's really, I think, probably a lot about the connection that you have when you paint. It's true, like, and I guess in general, in your life, what you kind of seem to emulate it with the world that you live in, and hopefully, like, your hands is definitely that it goes through that. But I always think that the eye is a much more important tool than the hands. The hands, again, like if you accept your limitation in terms of skills, because I'm, for example, I consider myself not very skilled. I'm not like someone that is like like a great craftsperson. If you ask me to draw like a horse running, chasing by tigers, and there's like a dragon, like there's no way I'm going to be able to do it without the heavy source images. So I had to like learn to be like, it doesn't matter. Like you can do whatever you want. It's like children, like especially until a certain age, but until probably like 8, 9, they're completely free. They never think about like, oh, I don't know how to do that. They just do whatever they want. And it's usually the best kids' drawings are around like 6, 7, 8. And as soon as they become more like teenager, they start to be like, oh, I don't know how to do the eyes. And usually a lot of people stop doing it. So I think for me, like what is important is more like the back and forth. When you paint, you always step back, you paint, you step back and you look at it. That moment is definitely in my opinion, a crucial moment, because it's when you take a decision like as simple as like, oh, I need to do that shape bigger. I need to do that shade of gray more red. I need to add like a bit of white here. And I think that is the moment where I think things really happening. It's really this kind of, you look at what you're doing and you transform it. And those moments are very important. And again, you can't really think about it. You just have to. I always talk about the idea of practice because I think, especially with painters, probably because it's really, or musicians have that, or dancers have that. To be the loosest and the freest possible, you really have to practice every day, and then you don't even think about it, because I come here every day and I paint for like 6-7 hours a day. So it's not like when I'm here I'm really like, what do I do? I'm doing it every day for 30 years now. So I'm just pretty comfortable with it. So my relation to landscape it's true, is very probably like close to where I grew up. Switzerland is a very landscapey place, and especially like culturally, like landscape is a big part of the Swiss identity, like the mountain and the Alps. As Switzerland has a bit of a lack of classic history, meaning like big battles, big kingdoms, like that has been like, which is the classic history kind of way of building like a nationalistic identity. Switzerland really don't have that much, and I think landscape has been a big kind of identity building in the kind of the myth of what is this kind of nation. So I think like growing up there, landscape is very present, not only around you with the Alps and the lakes, but also all around like culture. Like it's a very kind of present. So probably like this is a part of it, and I think everybody that grew up in a place that value landscapes not only as something that you look at, but also culturally, like in paintings, in design, in movies, in books, that definitely has an impact on someone. And I think the other way that I feel like connected to landscape, again, it's not. I don't think I can really explain, except that as a subject. When I paint trees and mountains and sky and like, see that, I feel like a connection with whatever I'm trying to explore and the feeling that I'm trying to express. I think there's a sense of peace and a sense of connection to a bigger me that is clearly into this idea of the landscape that I think I like to explore, and the idea of the mountain, this kind of much bigger landscape that you feel a little bit smaller, and maybe you feel like more connected to a bigger kind of picture than your neighborhood, or like that, something like that. Is probably like something that marked me as maybe as a child when I grew up, and a lot of the art that I look at has that's kind of a little bit of, I would say a little bit like the most well-known artist, romantic, the Friedrich idea of like me and facing the nature, that you have this kind of more kind of existentialist almost kind of perception of yourself facing that kind of nature idea. So that's definitely a part of it. I love working with color, and color is a very important part of my practice. And I think it's also because of my medium, like pastel. And as you can, saw in my studio, like I have all those different colors, and I have definitely this constant conversation and back and forth with seeing all those different colors and applying them, in different ways. I mean, working with colors when you paint, this is like even the most extreme way of being completely intuitive, because there's it's like really notes or flavors. There's not like, oh, you put this next to this with that amount in there. There's absolutely no formula for it. It's really your pure sensitivity to it, and it is maybe one of the most fun parts of making a painting is putting colors next to each other and to see how sensitive and how subtle, like a tiny shade of a color or this. It's all about the shade of the color that you use and the type of color and the size of that, like surface that you paint with red and then the blue and the green or whatever, and it's like color only exists obviously in relationship with each other, like they don't exist by themselves. So it's all about that mix of those different characters that, and it's, for a painter, that's really fun because it's very easy to change, and you just do a tiny dot of one color and it changes everything, and you remove it, and so it's that's one of the most fun process for me to do. So that's probably why I use a lot of colors and maybe stronger colors, because it's even make the process even more fun and kind of entertaining for me. Because if you use bright colors, that process is even like stronger and you feel it stronger. Like if you use only like, I mean, there's a lot of great work in the studio right now, but like it's maybe you have slightly less of this kind of strong impact. If you use bright colors, it's very easy to create those like strong, dynamic, and that's something that I definitely really love, and it's very, very entertaining for me to do that in the studio. Yeah, I love that part. It's probably my favorite part, actually. Yeah, I mean, beauty is definitely it's a word that is the word beautiful or beauty is a very big word that is it's very hard to. It's almost like the word God. It's like a little bit like, well, what are you going to do with it? What I like in the idea of beauty is the bit of being attracted to something, and then when you're attracted to that, space, inside that space you can explore different kind of ideas and feelings. So I think for me, beauty is a way to attract someone inside, and I think nature has a lot of that relationship with humans for a very long time. Like this idea of like, oh, this is beautiful. The flowers are beautiful. Those animals are beautiful. This street is like, and I think that moment of attraction, and then you get lost in it. You can, I think, connect to a very specific aspect of humanity, and I think that is kind of something that I'm interested with. My landscape in general are not realistic in the sense that they represent basically an idealistic portrait of nature, and I see them as like either pre-humans or post kind of humans, and kind of this idealistic way that humans have been seeing kind of nature and landscape, very much in kind of in opposition of the idea of the landscape that represents where we live, which is a strong history, especially with the kind of the realistic type of landscape of the Barbizon school, but even like the Impressionist landscape, where basically like the representation of a landscape changed by humans is very present, and the human presence in the landscape is a very important aspect of that process. In my representation of landscape, it's more this kind of almost this conception of this idealistic nature that we've been having for a very long time. As far as we know, the paradise is basically nature, and it's human. Before we were human, we were all in this perfect nature, and then we had the sin of becoming humans. And then we basically created this chaos. And then after that, like we're supposed to go back to this idealist nature. So it's a little bit of that part of that Western kind of canon and this storytelling of that nature is perfect without us. And we have this kind of strange relationship with the idea of nature. I will say that maybe you don't have to believe that your work has to basically be important. That's because it's too much of a weight, and it's probably going to block you, when you go to the studio. But anybody will probably be, almost everybody in the world will agree that an artistic kind of object is one of the most important things they have in their life, after like the basic of health. And very material kind of thing, like a roof, those kind of things. But like I think music is probably and it must have been really the first art form, like rhythm. It's like you can ask anybody probably across all the cultures, like, oh, like, can you see yourself without any music for the rest of your life? It will be like extremely hard. People that even don't listen to music much, they don't realize how much music there is around constantly. Like, of course, TV is full of music, like, but now music is everywhere, obviously, but it's even in the past, like rhythm and songs were like, and I think I think it's just a way of connect to our feelings, and the feelings can be very complex. It can be like, how we perceive our own place in this universe, or just like love or sadness, which I think at the end of the day, feelings is what drive humans to be humans, basically. Like, and I think, of course, if you say, painting, like, if you extract, is painting important as one object? You're like, of course not. Like, but if you think about any creative object that are surrounded by us, this is obviously it's a hugely important part of human culture, because it's the only way we express feelings. Like, without music, without storytelling, without legends and books and dancing, we can't express those feelings, and it will be probably unbearable to live without expressing those feelings as deep as like the fear of death or the joy of new life, or as common as love. Like, those things needs to be put it out, and arts is there for that, basically.